So, thank you for, let me talk to you because I'm a big fan now. I wasn't before. I didn't sort of know, but then I did my research and I've been listening to your albums for the last month. And it's on every day. I mean, I'm in love with the last one. Prequel, is it?
Yes, Prequel.
Prequel, yeah, that's the work of art, that is. It's an amazing piece of work, that is.
Thank you.
With Prequel, the album, there's obviously a mixture of, say, some hard rock, some, I'd say, soft rock, very ballady type tracks, some orchestral type tracks. How did you go about, writing that album? Because it's just like a complete mixture of all sorts of works of art, but do you know what I mean? It's not like, say, some rock albums, they all seem to be linear, do you know what I mean? Like, but with your albums, they're not all the same, the tracks aren't. Has that always been the case? I mean, how do you write the album?
I always try to write, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of like Queen. Like, you just write songs. You try to write new songs that you don't have already. And try not to think too much about genres. If you want to write a blues 12, you write a blues 12. And if you want to write a symphonic piece, you write a symphonic piece. If you need a heavy metal bit in it, you write a heavy metal bit. And just wherever the mind takes you.
That's right.
Try not to get stuck. There's not a whole lot of dogmatic rules or,
Right. Has that always been the way, you wanted to be? Have you always sort of tried to, I mean, I wouldn't say break the mold, but I mean, I'm glad, you're like this and your work is like this. But have you always been from the beginning? Have you always thought, I'm just going to do it my way?
More or less. I've always been fusing, I've always sort of practiced the art of fusion. Even when I wrote, like, old school death metal, I was always very inspired by all kinds of things. But sort of then fitted into the mold. But the inspiration itself came from, it wasn't like I just sat around and listened to only death metal and just like took that. It was a mixture between all kinds of things.
I mean,
same thing now.
Right. Okay. I mean, how do you write the songs? Is it music first or is it lyrics first?
There's no rules. Sometimes the song starts with a drum fill.
Okay.
Some songs start, the idea is sparked by a word. Sometimes it's sparked by it can start with anything really.
Right, okay. And I've got you, I mean, it's a bit of a silly question, but I've been listening to like the last album and you got Miasma on there, which he's got a saxophone in towards the end. I mean, that's obviously proof that you will try new things. I mean, normally when you listen to like a rock band, you wouldn't find a saxophone playing, or, why you're obviously happy to try new things, to new things like that, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, and I've always been a fan of the sax. I always think that, especially in Americana rock, it always has a nice spot. In Bruce Springsteen songs, it's always like, that's where it, when you listen to Badlands, like when it really like goes up, when it gear up, the highest note sort of, that's when the sax comes in.
Right.
Yeah, that's the moment I was looking for.
No, and it works. I mean, it's just, I wasn't expecting it, and you listen, you think, I listened to it about 3 times, I'm thinking, that's a sax, that is. But one other silly thing, I mean, I would say that Pro Memoria, it's a beautiful sort of work of art with orchestral start. But it's something that obviously couldn't be played in a school play, but it must make you laugh thinking maybe one day it would be played in a school,
You mean writing symphonic music?
No, I mean with that album, with that track on the album Pro Memoria. It's a sort of track you could play anywhere, but then once the words start to be sang, it's not a sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just. I was going to sort of suggest it to my daughter's school to do it at Christmas, but then Bobby's telling no.
Right. Yeah.
get it. Sorry.
It's supposed to be a little of them. It's not open to us.
So, is it fair to say then you like to Provoke with the appearance of all you guys in Ghost rather than through the music? Was it a bit of both?
I'd say that the visual aspects of the band and also what you might refer to as the provoking elements of it is more to the to the entertainment of those who actually like stuff like that, rather than to the annoyance of people who hate it.
Right.
If that makes sense. The idea is not to exist on the sole premise of provoking people who hate rock and roll and who hate liberty and who hate free thinking and hate intellectualism and love guns and hate foreigners. That was not the point, really. The idea was to entertain people who are opposed to all of these things.
Yeah, I can see sort of links. I mean, I saw Alice Cooper on Saturday in Cardiff, and his shows are, like you say, they're a show. They're not there to provoke or to offend. They're just there with the music and to see the show, the element of the show, isn't it? So I guess, would Alice Cooper be somebody you sort of got some inspiration from in the early days?
Absolutely. Always been a very important idol of mine.
And with obviously with the stage shows and the appearance, and obviously you're not your own character. How much do you sort of can create all that yourself? Or have you got a team with you, or is it all down to yourself? Like every time you go on a new album or whatever, you sort of change from a cardinal. You sort of change the appearance of yourself. When you're on stage or all of music videos. Is that something all down to yourself?
Well, it's on my shoulders to take initiative, but between me taking initiative and executing, there's obviously a lot of people involved in order to execute the whole thing. And I'm not a tailor, I'm not a clothing designer, I'm not there's so many people needed in order to make. I'm not a mask maker.
But I think
I rely on a lot of people to make all these things happen.
But you have the final say. I mean, because I know it's just when you read things, you said obviously it's like you obviously write all the music, and I mean, would you have said that you would prefer to have been not exposed as Tobias and left it for a few more years, or are you happy that you sort of your identity was sort of came out, or you came out with your identity of who you were in the last few years?
The character is still, the character keeps on living. That doesn't change things really. I am talking to you as a director or an actor. The same way that Harrison Ford would talk to you. He would not interview Han Solo.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Indiana Jones.
Yeah, but that's basically it. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. No, I was just unsure. So I wasn't sure if you wanted to sort of perpetuate, and keep on going as being, just for the myth of who you were behind the band. But obviously, it got announced that you were. When can we expect the next album to be coming out?
Beginning of 2021.
Okay. And how have you what sort of direction is this one going to go in? I can see some, there's been an organic change from, say, the first album to the last album, the 4 albums. So you started off very dark, and then you got to be a bit more, more user-friendly towards the last album. What direction is the next album going to go in?
I can't tell you.
Okay.
I don't want to ruin the surprise, but I have a fairly good picture in my head of where I want the record to go, where I think there are holes and things that I think that we should do. But writing a record is also, in our case, also thinking about the show, and there's a lot of production value that goes in, not only to the record, but also to the live show.
Yeah. So you've always got...
It's the whole concept.
So you've always got that in the back of your mind when you're writing for the next album. You've always thought of the show and the videos. You've always sort of, it's not just about the music. You've got to think of the whole big picture.
Yes, that is correct.
And that's hard, isn't it? That must be really hard.
Oh, that's the fun bit, I think.
Is it?
But you need to have your radar on. You need to sort of keep your compass firmly in your hand so that you know you don't sort of sidestep.
Right, but who do you bounce your ideas off, or your sort of, the music? Do you bounce them off, say, some of the other band members, or is it just yourself, or do you know what I mean? Do you have sort of a sit around a table and then?
No, I have a few people that I do that with, and I always do a lot of sort of tests in my home. Actually, I play it to my kids. I play it to my wife.
Okay.
And a lot of that sort of colors my decisions. I remember 5 years ago when we were against the lead Meliora. I was playing the songs to my, at that point, 6-year-old daughter.
Right.
And I was there like, which song do you like there? Because I was being, I was asked by the label, which song do you think should be the first single?
Yeah.
And my daughter said Cerise. Because that was at that point, I think it was the only song that she liked. I only like that. That song is really good.
Oh, wow.
Like, well, the first single will be Cerise then. Because if a 6-year-old girl likes that, that's probably okay.
That's funny, because I was going to ask you, because obviously I know that a lot of the music and the lyrics can be a bit, satanic, and I know, I know they're just words, but obviously for you to hear that, obviously your daughter chose the first track of that album, and she obviously listens to your music, and it's music's music, isn't it, Tobias? It's just music is music. It doesn't have to mean anything.
Exactly, and the thing with music, if you have any intention of, within brackets, so-called making it, you need to understand that there needs to be a certain, same way, if you're starting a restaurant, the dishes that you're serving need to appeal to an X amount of people. It can't just appeal to people with an acquired taste. Then you will have you won't have much business.
Yes, yeah.
It's always like when you play music sometimes to people, they're like, well, I don't know anything about music. That's not important at all. I just want to know what you feel when you hear it. You're not supposed to sell it to people who know music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's important what a kid thinks. It's important what your mother-in-law thinks of it, or because it's all about feeling. Unless you really, really, really just want to appeal to the jazz police, then then you might want to consider a different route. But yeah,
but
it's important that you show your music to people who aren't savvy of all the influence.
Yeah. I agree. For yourself, then, you've got an amazing voice. Your tone is off the scale. When did you discover you could sing?
Thank you. I don't know. In my teens, I always used to sing with records, but I started really working on it, or really finding it in my early 20s.
Right.
When I started singing clean vocals.
Yeah.
Before this, I was a vocalist, but I was singing some metal, so it was a completely different.
Right. Okay. I get you.
Tonality.
Yeah. I just Tobias, what's been the most important lesson you've learned by being a successful sort of songwriter and singer in a band?
Trying not to complicate things and rely on the ancient wisdom that there are just a few chords, there are just 8 notes, and you cannot really reinvent the wheel. You have to rely on the wheel is already perfect, and it rolls. and the only thing that you need to make sure is that it rolls relatively smoothly. As though the only thing that you can sort of construct is the surface on which your wheel rolls on. And sure, I mean, just for the bumps, if you like bumps, you can put a stone there just to make it feel a little bumpy. But you cannot, like, you still, if you're hoping for this vehicle to move, the wheel needs to be round still. And it's the same thing with writing. Like, don't complicate things. Sometimes you can hear people trying to write songs with chord changes that are like, oh, it's super original. Yeah, absolutely. And it's unlistenable because it doesn't take you anywhere.
Yeah.
You should choose this chord changes. Yeah, but it's so predictable. Yeah, but it feels good.
Wow. Thank you. That's the best answer I've had to any of my questions I've had, and I've done hundreds of interviews. I really appreciate that. That's phenomenal. Seriously. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
No, thank you, Tobias, and I'm looking forward to the concert in Cardiff, so I'll come and see you soon. Thank you.
I am as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Much appreciated. Thank you.